Today, we are digging deep into the Minerals Act of Trinidad and Tobago. This is the official rulebook for all things mining, and we're going to break down exactly how the country manages its valuable resources, everything from the sand on the beach to precious stones. So here's a question for you. If you find something valuable in the ground, is it automatically yours? Can you just start digging it up? And who gets to decide? Well, answering these exact questions is why the Minerals Act exists. It sets the ground rules for everybody. All right, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with why we even need rules for mining in the first place. Then we'll get into the Minerals Act itself. After that, we'll look at who's in charge, what it takes to get a license, and the responsibilities that come with it. And finally, we'll cover what happens when people don't play by the rules. So first up, why even bother regulating mining? Well, just imagine a total free-for-all. Anyone digging anywhere they want. You'd have chaos, right? Not to mention serious environmental damage and constant fights over who owns what. Regulation is all about bringing order and making sure these resources are managed for the good of the whole country. And this, right here, is the bedrock of the entire act. Section 5 makes it crystal clear. On public land, any minerals found belong to the state. Now, this isn't just some minor detail, it's the core principle that gives the government the authority and the duty to manage these resources for all its citizens. Everything else really flows from this one idea. So that brings us to the main event, the Minerals Act. This is the official playbook, the comprehensive law that governs the entire process, from just looking for minerals to digging them up, processing them, and even selling them. It's the one-stop shop for rules in the industry. Okay, so what exactly does the law mean by a mineral? The definition is actually pretty broad. It's basically any naturally occurring substance you can mine. But what's really interesting is what's not on the list. The Act specifically leaves out hydrocarbons, oil and natural gas, which are covered by their own laws. And it also excludes water. And the Act doesn't just lump all minerals together. It smartly splits them into two main groups. On one hand, you've got your common minerals. Think of these as the workhorses of construction and industry, stuff like stone, sand, and gravel. And on the other hand, you have special minerals, which is the more high-value category, like metallic ores and gemstones. This distinction is really important because it lets the government tailor the rules to fit the resource. So we've got the rules laid out, but a rule book is useless without a referee, right? The next logical question is who actually enforces all of this? The Act sets up a very clear structure with a team of gatekeepers who make sure everything is done by the book. And there's a pretty clear chain of command. At the top, you have the minister, who sets the big picture policy and has the final say on who gets a license. Then you have the director of minerals, who is the on-the-ground authority, making sure the rules are followed day to day. And advising them both is the Minerals Advisory Committee, a group of experts who review every application and offer critical advice. Okay, so you know the rules, you know who's in charge, but how do you actually get permission to start mining? Well, you can't just show up with a shovel and start digging. There's a formal process, a regulated journey you have to take to go from an idea to a full-fledged operation. Here's how that path works, in a nutshell. First, you submit a detailed application to the advisory committee, and this has to include a really important environmental impact assessment. The committee then pores over it and makes a recommendation. After that, the minister, with the cabinet's okay, makes the final call, yes or no. If you get the green light, the official license is issued, complete with all its conditions, and it's published for everyone to see. Now, not just anyone can get a license. The law is pretty clear about who is not eligible. For starters, you can't be under 18 or bankrupt. You've also got to prove you have the technical skills and the financial backing to do the job properly. And this last one is really key. The Act prioritizes local ownership. Licenses are generally reserved for nationals or for companies that are at least 50% owned by nationals. And just as important as who can mine is where you can mine. The Act draws a clear line around sensitive areas to protect our infrastructure and natural heritage. So you're not going to see a quarry pop up next to a highway, in the middle of a national park, or near a reservoir. These are no-go zones, all clearly defined to prevent damage and disruption. So let's say you've made it through the whole process and you've got that license in your hand. Is that it? Not even close. Getting a license is really just the beginning. It's not a permission slip to do whatever you want. It's a contract that comes with some very serious ongoing responsibilities. So how does the Act make sure these responsibilities are actually met? It makes companies put their money where their mouth is. they have to post two crucial bonds, which act like a financial safety net to guarantee they'll keep their promises to the country and the environment. Let's break these two bonds down. First, there's the rehabilitation bond. This is all about the land. It's basically a security deposit to make sure the site is cleaned up and restored after the mining is finished. If the company just walks away, the government can use this money to do the cleanup itself. Then you have the performance bond. This one is to make sure the company follows all the rules and pays what it owes, like royalties. So one bond protects the planet, and the other protects the public's wallet. And it goes way beyond just the financial bonds. The license also comes with a whole list of strict operational duties. We're talking about complying with all environmental laws, protecting the health and safety of workers, providing proper gear, and even limiting the work hours for younger employees. It's a really comprehensive take on responsible mining. So we have a clear set of rules, a process for getting permission, and a long list of responsibilities. But what's a rule without a consequence, right? What happens if someone just decides to ignore all of that? Let's talk about the penalties. And believe me, this act has some serious teeth. We're not talking about a little slap on the wrist for illegal mining. Section 45 lays it out, a massive $500,000 fine, plus you could be looking at up to 5 years in prison. That's a powerful message that breaking these laws will have severe consequences. And this is a really crucial final point. A mining license is not some golden ticket that lets you ignore every other law in the country. This quote from the Act makes it perfectly clear. You still have to get all the other necessary permits, like planning permission. The Minerals Act works with other laws, not instead of them. So after all that, what are the big ideas you should really take away from this? Let's quickly recap the whole regulated journey. When you boil it all down, the Minerals Act provides a really vital, structured framework for managing the country's resources. It confirms the state as the ultimate owner, it sets up a clear system of governance, and it does a good job of balancing economic opportunity with environmental and social responsibilities, which really leaves us with one final thought. The law provides a detailed map for how mining should be done, but a map is just a guide. The actual journey, and whether it leads to sustainable prosperity for everyone, well, that depends on all the people involved, the regulators, the companies, and the citizens who hold them accountable.